Hey everybody, welcome to the Ignited Podcast, Striking Industrial Automation Conversations. We're your hosts. I'm Travis Cox.
And I'm Thomas Burke.
And this episode is called How Ignition Empowers Humanity. We're going to discuss the role of Ignition in local communities through our Community Impact Program and the amazing things that are happening there.
Today we are joined by two amazing guests, David Grussenmeyer, who is the Director of Strategic Alliances at Inductive Automation, and someone I find incredibly inspiring and who truly cares about the next generation of engineers, Liliya Valihun, who's the Director of Global Programs and AI Localization at Hebron Soft. Thank you both for coming to the show today.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for hosting us.
So Dave, you've been instrumental here in building the Community Impact Program at Inductive Automation. So where did this program start?
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting story. So several years ago, in 2024, we launched the program, but it really kind of started the seeds earlier than that. So looking at a particular project called Room in the Inn, and that project was pivotal for how we approach our communities and support our communities around the world. Chris McLaughlin, who was an engineer at the time at Vertec, he came to us and he was working with a local homeless organization in Middle Tennessee. And he had a project that he wanted to tackle. They had 13 different locations around Middle Tennessee, and they used various different softwares to kind of communicate and, track their volunteers, track all the different projects and initiatives that they had within the organization, as well as, the intakes that come into the shelters, people that have fallen on hard times and that were looking for help. Being 13 different locations, they couldn't really communicate the information across those locations accurately. And so Chris, being who Chris is and working with Ignition, he thought there's got to be a better way. He set out to start this project, and this project was a huge undertaking. And one of the really interesting things is that, he started this project during COVID, and he reached out over LinkedIn to various engineers. He even scoured the Ignition forums to find people that would donate their time to the project. And he came to us and he asked us for some support in this area. And so what we did was during COVID times, we realized that networking was hard to do, right? Events were not happening, which was pivotal for us. We were all over the place. We had our own events. We had various trade shows and conferences that we attended, but everything stopped. And so what we ended up doing to stay connected to our integrator community is we held integrator roundtables. And so we would pick a topic and we would cover that topic over the course of, I think, 6 weeks or so. And every Friday, we would get a different set of integrators together and we would bring them together, discuss those topics, whether they were updates in Ignition or updates with the company, whatever it was, or even just to talk about shared pain points and how we can help solve those. We gave Chris a chance to have a call to action on one series of those meetings. And so there were we gave him about 15 minutes at the end of one of those meetings. And so it happened 6 weeks in a row. He was able to talk to our audience, to our integrators, and he talked about the project he was working on, and it was a call to action to help support this project. So, over the next 2.5 years, they worked on this project. He got volunteers from all over the community. I think over 150 engineers worked on this project. You're talking about tens of thousands of work hours put into the project. And he launched this project and unified those 13 locations and really gave them a better tool to use, being able to track metrics, like I said, track their initiatives, their different projects, and really work with the community in a much different way, in a much more impactful way. And so when we did this and, we provided that opportunity to Chris and we provided the software for him to use, and Colby, our CEO, said at that time, we got to do more. And so he looked at it and he said, this is going to be the start of something really special. And he looked over at me, he said, hey, you did really well with our educational engagement program. Do you want to lead something like this? And I said, absolutely. I mean, the impact that we have on, the communities that we contribute to around the world is immense, and this aligns with that perfectly. So we launched the program at ICC in 2024 when we talked about Room in the Inn project, and ever since then it's been a great experience. I think we have around 15 or 16 projects going on around the world too, globally, impacting different communities, and whether they're small impacts or large impacts, it doesn't matter. We're here to help, and we're here to support those different initiatives.
Yeah, it's a real testament to, that a lot of engineers, they want to make an impact. And if we give them an opportunity, that they'll rise to the occasion. And they certainly did for that project. It was definitely exciting to see and very inspiring to see all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ignition's a tool set, but what the engineers do with it is really remarkable.
And so this is a testament. I remember, David, when you first told me about this story, it just lit me up like amazing. It's like, this is such a typical use of Ignition that we never would have thought of. But these guys and all these engineers that work together to do this, to solve this critical problem for humanity. I mean, it's just, I'm hoping we can deploy a lot more opportunities like this. And like you said, there are a lot more projects that we're going to talk about.
Right, absolutely. And kind of just anecdotally looking at, when I'm able to meet with integrators, when I'm able to meet with engineers, whether it's at our community conference that we hold every year, I often sit down with them and they look at the community impact program and they go, how can we do something in this area? And it's a conversation around, well, what are you interested in? What community are you looking to impact? What's important to you? And some of them, they don't see it right away, but just through a 10 or 15 minute conversation, I can just tell their mind is going. And they're thinking about all the different opportunities that they can engage with. And again, it really is that large tool set that they have access to, and what they make of it. I mean, it's the motto, it's the saying, it's dream it, do it, and it really is, and it rings true in our communities.
And we're all giving back to the community, and that's the beauty of this. So it's exploring the technology and making use of the technology in ways we never dreamed of, but it's perfect. And it really gives everybody the opportunity to give back.
Absolutely.
And then enter our incredible guest here today, right? Who is really embodying, the epitome of this kind of program out in the community.
So, Liliya, can you tell me a little bit more and share more about yourself and Hebron Soft and this whole Hebron IT Academy that you've been, championing?
Absolutely. Yes. So my name is Liliya. I come from Ukraine, where resilience is not just theoretical, but it's daily life. I come from a poor family, but I got an opportunity to come and teach and study at Penn State University back in 2008 to 2011. And after that, I moved to the Bay Area. Living in the Bay Area, working in the tech space, I understood that talent is universal, but opportunity is not. And when Russia invaded first time in 2014 in Crimea, eastern part of Ukraine, I moved back with my family from California to Ukraine to start Hebron IT Academy for orphans. At that time, I was helping a lot of orphans, and I saw how much potential there is in them and how much need there is. And instead of 4 or 5 year degree, we saw how those you can get through training and get into a job market. So that's how the idea of Hebron was born, to provide that opportunity to those who don't have them. So moving from the Bay Area to California, my husband and I, from the Bay Area, to Lviv, Ukraine, my husband and I bought a big facility, our first home that is for orphans. We lived at that time in a small condo, but our first home was, now we call it Stanford for Orphans, because it's a big facility where they live, study, get all the mental support, physical, healthcare support, and most importantly, that hope and future through education. So Hebron, we started with the nonprofit, and later on we added the for-profit side, the company, Hebron Soft, not because we wanted to have a business for commercial purpose, but we needed to sustain the nonprofit. So Hebron is a main donor and a supporter of Hebron Academy. And another main goal was to provide internship and job opportunities to the graduates, to Hebron graduates. So that's how Hebron Soft was born. And that's for the last 10 years, we've been able to help over 1,000 orphans to go through the program, get jobs, stability in their life, and build different families than they were born in. Last year, we opened another facility in Kyiv for those who were displaced, lost their homes due to the war in eastern part of Ukraine. We have around 45 students there right now, and I say that innovation comes when technology can solve the human pain. And especially when it comes to Ukrainians right now who go through so much suffering and pain, there is a lot that is coming from Ukraine, a lot of innovation, resilience, and new technology that serves humanity. So we'll talk a lot about prosthetic arm and other projects that were born due to that.
Yeah, let's get into that. We saw last year the incredible work that the students that you have in that academy, what they did with the prosthetic arm. In fact, last year you won the Firebrand Award for community impact for that project. And most people think of Ignition as a manufacturing or infrastructure platform, and as we're kind of showing from the homeless management system and beyond. How does it extend to something like a prosthetic arm? And, what was how did this project come about?
Yeah, so at Hebron Soft, we use Ignition like everybody else. We serve various clients in pharmaceuticals, life sciences, wastewater, and other industries. Ignition allows to build systems quickly, securely, and at scale for communities that normally cannot afford enterprise software, right? So the beauty of Ignition is not only its technology, but its accessibility and how it empowers teams to solve complex problems. When using Ignition for commercial projects and training our students through Inductive University, it's a rule that everybody has to go through the university at our academy. We were equipped with the skills, and when we came up with the idea what else can we do for Ukrainians, the idea of the prosthetic arm was born. So I have one of those printed by our students at our 3D lab in Ukraine. So basically, it's a temporary solution. It's not a permanent solution for soldiers who lost their limbs. And it usually when they lose limbs, they wait around 9 to 9 months for the permanent solution. And during that time, a lot of their muscles atrophy, and they have no idea what it means to have a prosthesis. So it's very vague, and when they get the prosthetic arm or leg, it's totally different than what they expect. So we wanna help them have the right expectation from day one by 3D printing, which takes days. They are equipped with something that can restore their dignity and independence and understanding and proper expectation what it means. So that's the idea of 3D printing. And then the Ignition, we thought, wow, the platform has so much potential. It can do so much more than just manufacturing and infrastructure platform. Then it was a no-brainer to use it for the prosthetic arm project. So the prosthetic arm project started with one question: how can technology restore that independence and dignity for those soldiers? So by combining the engineering, our automation thinking, accessibility principles to create something, we were thinking creating something human-centered and practical. So that's how it was born. And I also say that the true power of engineering is not just it is efficiency, but it's humanity in its first place.
So Liliya, to connect back to like the homeless management system, you really did something incredible with that. You decided to make this thing all open source. Can you talk about why did you do that? Why did you make the project open source? And, what does that mean for the future?
Yeah, so homelessness is not just about the housing problem, right? It's about data coordination, resource visibility problem, communication. That's one of the biggest pieces, right? And many organizations, they worked on those fragmented systems and spreadsheets and siloed platform systems. And with the homeless management system, we understood that, it's the power of technology. If you give compassion spreads easily when technology is open. And that was Chris McLaughlin's idea. He was stating, I don't want to own, I want to impact this multiplication. So the goal was, yes, impact multiplication and not ownership. And when I heard that idea, I jumped right away and said, Chris, this won't be that hard for our students to bring it to open source. So that was not a business decision to make it open source. It was a moral one, a moral code. We thought if this platform that built and that Chris and 150 other volunteers built, if this platform can help one community, it should help many others, and not only in homeless space, but in any societal problem that can exist in the world.
Yeah, these projects are just incredibly inspiring. The work that you guys are doing, it's great to see, because it just shows the power, right, of having a tool set, having people that have the ideas, empower the right people. They can make some big impacts, out there in the community.
Yeah, it matters who you put that technology into whose hands, right? And the goal of using that technology. So it becomes very powerful if you put it in the hands of somebody who's gone through suffering, who's gone through hard past and background, and knows how to help others in that way. Yeah, so it was a prosthetic arm, for example. I call it the project of double impact, because it's built by orphans with hard backgrounds, for veterans who lost their limbs now in the war in Ukraine.
With this project, the HMS, the Homeless Management System project, you see the work that they're doing, making that open source that's out there. I mean, this could lead to hopefully getting a lot more momentum, as you're saying earlier, for more types of projects like these to happen out there in the community, getting more engineers involved. How have you started to see this shift a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, just looking at some of the projects that we have participated with, there is a community fridge project in Wisconsin, and that was really developed out of a need within the community for providing access to food at any time of day, any time of night during the COVID pandemic. They were tackling a couple different issues there. So obviously, food shelters are only open certain days and at certain hours. And then at the same time, there is a sense of, to kind of Liliya's point, tackling the humanness of it and the dignity that's involved with that. Somebody that needs to feed their kids, and they might not get off work until 1 a.m. and they don't have food in the cupboards, and, what are they going to do? And so it provided them an opportunity to go out there and to get access to food. And so providing the software to monitor these fridges to make sure that the food's not spoiled, to make sure that, the temperature is staying within the proper range, and to also know what's in the fridge, if it needs to be restocked at any time. Seeing communities rally behind these projects are really insightful. And then, to your point, looking at these larger projects, there's a pretty large, substantial project that is just getting started, that Liliya's directly involved with, working with the United Religions Initiative, which is a global organization that looks at, human rights around the world and combating religious violence and religious persecution, and really bringing people together for humanity. And so it's a really exciting opportunity.
Yeah, and Lily, you guys are at the forefront of this. You've taken. You've open sourced a lot of what was done with the homeless management system. A lot of the work that's there carries over to projects like this, and you guys are really heavily involved in URI. Can you give us a little more background on what you're doing, what this project is, and sort of how you're rallying, quite a lot of people in terms of coordination and communication with this project?
Absolutely. So URI is just one amazing organization. It does so much more than we can even imagine. It's a peacemaking between all of the interfaith communities initiatives. They are in over 130 countries on our calls right now while building this platform with them. We have at least 7-8 countries all the time, from Israel, South Africa, to Chile, obviously USA, China, Ukraine now, Latvia. Basically, URI does a lot of impact and has a lot of communities that don't communicate with each other through one unified platform. They have a lot of small platforms that are siloed, but not one unified. So through the platform we are building, that is also based on Ignition and reusing the homeless management, at least 25% of the code that was built done for homeless management system. Now we are able not to replace their communication, but to strengthen their communication. Again, this is the power of Ignition. I think it's building not just smart factories, but it's building smart communities, and that's the power of the platform.
I like that. I like that whole concept of that. So I guess for our audience here, because we're talking about this community and talking about all the interesting stories and things that we've been able to do from a humanitarian perspective. So I guess I'll ask Lily and David, so what does the future hold? Where do you think we can go? And how can people get involved in some other projects that, and bring to the table and do the same thing?
It's a great question, Thomas. And I think that, I want to take a step back here and I want to talk about it from the perspective, we've talked about these very large projects and these very, large undertakings to have a substantial impact on various communities. But I want to emphasize here that you don't have to be a huge nonprofit or a charitable organization to have this type of impact. You can be an individual engineer in your community that you're looking to have an impact on maybe just your neighborhood. If you can build something that is going to impact your community for good. For example, I have a couple different engineers that are looking at, their kids' Little League signups, like if they can streamline that, bring costs down for the Little League organization so that more kids can sign up and play baseball, great. Let's support that.
It'll be phenomenal.
Yeah. And so it doesn't matter. I think what I'm getting at here is it doesn't matter how small the project is or how large the project is. We're here to support it. Again, Ignition's the platform, a large tool set. It's really up to that individual how they want to leverage that tool set and really have the best impact that they can. And another point I want to emphasize is you don't have to boil the ocean, right? Start small. Start by having some kind of small impact and then iterate on it. Make it better over time.
So David, we're going to provide, as part of the podcast here, we're going to provide links to a lot of things to help people get started on some of these projects. And like you said, they don't have to boil the ocean, right? So it's an opportunity for you to learn more things and help out with your respective community using the Ignition platform, and we'll help you get started and, introduce, to the right people that can help you grow in your community.
So Liliya, from your perspective, what are you excited about the future, and how can people get connected or stay connected with you guys, with what you're doing?
Thank you. It always starts with small, like David says, and with one. It starts with one student, one community, one small project. In my case, my goal is to provide hope, future, and opportunities for the students that we train at Hebron. So if somebody is interested to get through internship, one of our students that is Ignition certified, or get involved with any of the projects we mentioned, and we have much more in our research and development, please reach out. But I do believe that technology and platforms like Ignition can help solve huge problems: healthcare access, housing access and coordination, any education gaps, disaster response, and so much more. And it's about the power of us getting together, our communities getting together and solving, starting from small to big ones, solving any problem. Nothing is impossible, and if we are together, we can move mountains.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you both for being here and sharing these stories and seeing what the community is doing out there. There's many more projects that we hope to come like this, and I know the great work. I can't wait to see what happens with what you're doing with URI and where that will go. It's really great when you can really connect people together and make an impact in your community. For all of you out there, for the listeners, Hebron didn't wait for permission, right? They asked what problem needed solving, and then they built the answer. What's the Hebron-sized problem in your community? What are you waiting for? Do you want to get involved in projects like these for your community? Reach out to us and get involved. And David, from your perspective, how can people be a part of this community impact program and get the license that they need for their community?
Yeah, as Thomas said, we'll post some links to our inquiry form. If you're just listening to this podcast, go to our website, go to inductiveautomation.com. Look under our community tab in the website, and you'll see the community impact program. You go there, and there's a form there you can fill out. My team will be in contact with you, and we follow up quickly, and we like to move quickly. So we like to get the power into your hands and get you started right away.
And we're going to want to hear about your stories as you deploy new things in your community. And Liliya, we're going to share the link to the Hebron IT Academy as well. So, so people can get in contact with you and get involved with, your programs as well. So we look forward to, all of us participating and benefiting your respective communities in whatever way that you have.
I'll just add that hard times create strong people, and Ukrainians are very strong and resilient. I just want to encourage everybody to be as innovative and creative as Ukrainians are these days.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here, Liliya, and sharing the story. Thank you, David. Thanks for everybody. Yeah, and as always, please subscribe to Ignited on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.